I never thought I would find myself in a situation like this. My heart raced as I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at Leo's phone. It was a bright Saturday afternoon, and everything seemed perfect. The sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over our room. But as I glanced at the screen, my stomach twisted in knots. I had stumbled upon a series of messages that shattered everything I believed about my life and my marriage. "Can't wait to see you again," one message read. Another said, "You make me feel alive." Each text felt like a dagger piercing my heart, twisting deeper with every word. I felt the air leave my lungs as if the world around me faded away. How could he do this to me? I thought we were happy. I picked up the phone, my hands trembling. Should I confront him? The thought of facing Leo filled me with dread. What if he denied it? What if he turned it all back on me, making me the villain in this story? My mind raced. I was filled with despair, anger, and confusion all at once. I could picture Leo's face, his charming smile, and the way he always knew how to make me laugh. But now, all I felt was betrayal. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something. Instead, I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I needed a plan. "Elara, you okay in there?" Leo's voice came from the kitchen, breaking through my thoughts. I quickly put the phone down, my heart pounding. "Yeah, just looking for my shoes," I called back, forcing a smile that I knew he couldn't see. The dilemma weighed heavily on my shoulders. Should I confront him about what I found, risking everything? Or should I just stay silent and gather more evidence? The latter was tempting. I could watch him, observe his every move, and discover the depths of his betrayal without him knowing. It was a dangerous game, but I felt a strange sense of power in keeping this secret. I decided then and there, I would remain quiet. I would watch him closely, learning everything I could about the woman who had stolen his heart. Her name was Sloane, and I needed to know who she was. I felt a thrill rush through me. This was not just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my power. As the days turned into weeks, the tension in our home grew thicker. Leo went about his life, blissfully unaware of my knowledge. I watched him smile, laugh, and cook our favorite meals as if nothing had changed. The way he looked at me sometimes sent chills down my spine. Did he know? One evening, as we sat on the couch together, I couldn't shake the urge to ask him about Sloane. "Leo, do you think people can really change?" I asked, testing the waters. He looked up from his phone, a puzzled expression on his face. "Change? Of course. People grow and evolve all the time. Why do you ask?" I forced a laugh, feeling a bitter taste in my mouth. "Just something I was thinking about." His eyes returned to his phone, and I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. I was trapped in this web of deceit, but I didn't have to be a victim. I could be the master of my own fate. Every detail about Sloane intrigued me. She was ambitious, confident, and everything I felt I was losing. I found myself oscillating between wanting to confront her and relishing in the power of my secret knowledge. The thought of seeing the shock on her face when she discovered I knew about her made me feel alive. But I needed to be smart. I needed to gather my strength. I could approach her, not just for revenge, but to reclaim what was mine. The thought of facing Sloane filled me with both fear and excitement. I knew that this was only the beginning of a deeper emotional conflict, one that would change everything. With each passing day, I became more resolved. I would no longer be the naive wife. I would become the woman who took control of her own story. The game was on, and I was ready to play. The weeks dragged on, each day heavy with the weight of my secret. Leo went about his life as if nothing had changed, completely unaware that I had seen the truth of his betrayal. I watched him, my heart torn between anger and despair. The life we built together felt like a fragile facade, and I felt like an outsider in my own home. One evening, as I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone, Leo walked in, his face bright with excitement. "Hey, Alara, you won't believe what happened at work today," he said, his voice full of enthusiasm. I forced a smile, nodding along, but inside, I was suffocating. "Sounds great, Leo," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. He continued talking, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I felt a deep sense of conflict. I wanted to scream at him, to let him know I knew everything, but I also wanted to savor the power that came with holding the truth. I was no longer the naive wife. I was a woman with a plan. My thoughts shifted to Sloane, the name that haunted my mind. I decided I needed to know more about her. I started my research, digging through social media and mutual friends. As I pieced together her life, I learned that she was ambitious, beautiful, and everything I was not. "Look at her," I whispered to myself one night, staring at a picture of Sloane. She had a confident smile and a sparkle in her eyes that made my stomach churn. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. "Why does she have to be so perfect?" I muttered, clenching my fists. The more I learned, the more conflicted I became. Part of me wanted to confront her, to demand answers, to make her feel the pain I felt. But another part of me relished the secret knowledge I had. It was like a weapon, and I was ready to use it. Days turned into weeks, and I watched Leo's every move. I noticed the little things, the way he smiled at his phone, the late nights at work, and the small changes in his routine. It was all so obvious now, yet it made my heart ache. One day, as I sat at a cafe with a friend, I overheard a conversation between two women at the next table. "Did you hear about Sloane? She's moving up in the company," one said. The other nodded. "Yeah, I heard she's quite the charmer." My heart raced. I couldn't let Sloane continue to charm her way into Leo's life. I needed to confront her, but how? That night, after Leo fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling, thoughts swirling around in my mind. I envisioned the confrontation, my heart pounding at the thought of facing her. What if she tries to deny it? I whispered to the dark room. What if she doesn't care? But I pushed those doubts aside. I couldn't let fear hold me back. I was tired of feeling powerless. I wanted to take control of my life again. Finally, I made my decision. I would approach Sloane, not in anger, but strategically. I would confront her with the truth, and I would make her see the damage she had caused. As the sun rose the next day, I felt a surge of determination. "This is it," I said to myself, looking in the mirror. "No more hiding." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decisions settle over me. I would not be a victim any longer. I would be the one who held the power. With a plan in mind, I started preparing for the meeting. I wanted to look strong and confident, to show Sloane that I was not to be underestimated. I was ready to take this step, and I knew that once I confronted her, there would be no turning back. I texted Sloane, asking to meet. My heart raced with anticipation and fear. I couldn't predict what would happen, but I knew this was the beginning of reclaiming my life. I was ready to face the woman who had taken so much from me. As I hit send, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. This was my moment, and nothing would hold me back. The day I met Sloane felt heavy with anticipation. My heart raced as I entered the coffee shop, a small place tucked away on a quiet street. The scent of brewed coffee filled the air, but I could hardly smell it. My thoughts were consumed by the confrontation that lay ahead. I spotted her at a corner table, flipping through her phone, her long hair cascading over her shoulders. She looked confident, beautiful even, and for a moment, I questioned my decision to approach her. As I walked closer, I felt a mix of fear and power. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of the reason I was there. I needed her to know that I was aware of the affair. I had to stand my ground. "Sloane," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked up, surprise flashing across her face. "Ilara?" Her tone was a mix of shock and curiosity. "Yeah, it's me," I replied, sitting down without waiting for an invitation. "We need to talk." "What about?" she asked, her brows knitting together. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice. "I know about you and Leo." Her expression shifted from surprise to a guarded calm. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my phone, the messages I had seen flashing in my mind. "I mean, I know everything. The texts, the late nights, the lies." I watched her face closely, searching for a hint of guilt or remorse. For a moment she was silent, her eyes widening. "You're lying." "No, I'm not," I said, feeling a surge of satisfaction. "I have proof. I saw it all on his phone." Sloane's mask of confidence began to crack. "You shouldn't be here. This isn't—" "Not here to argue," I interrupted. "I'm here to tell you to stay away from him. Leo is my husband, and I will fight for my marriage." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You think this is about you? You think you can just come here and threaten me?" "It's not a threat. It's a warning." My voice was firm, and I felt a powerful rush. "You might think he's yours, but he's not. He's mine, and I will not let you take him from me." Sloane leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "What makes you think he wants you? If he's with me, maybe he's made his choice." I felt a stab of pain at her words, but I pushed it aside. "You think Leo wants someone like you? He's with you because he's lost. He's looking for something he can't find in our life. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love me." "Love? Is that what you call it? A man who cheats on his wife?" she shot back, her voice rising slightly. I took a deep breath, forcing my emotions to settle. "You don't understand. I didn't come here to fight you. I came here to let you know that you are playing with fire. I will not just sit back and let this happen." Her eyes narrowed, and I could see defiance in her gaze. "You think you can intimidate me? I'm not afraid of you." Just as I was about to respond, my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw Leo's name flash on the screen. My heart dropped. "I have to take this," I said, standing up. Sloane's expression shifted to concern. "You should go. It's probably about me." I didn't want to leave, but I knew I had to. "This isn't over," I warned, holding her gaze. "I'll be watching." As I stepped out of the coffee shop, my heart raced. I answered the call, and Leo's voice on the other end was filled with anger. "Ilara, where are you? I need to talk to you, now." "I'm on my way home, Leo," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "We need to talk, too." "About what?" He sounded tense, and I could hear the frustration in his voice. "About everything," I replied, my mind racing. I felt stronger than I had in days, but a part of me was terrified of what would happen next. As I hung up, I realized I had crossed a line. I had confronted Sloane, but now I had to face Leo. The emotional battle ahead was going to test everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and my own identity. I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me, and I knew that the real confrontation was just beginning. The days that followed my confrontation with Sloane felt like a storm raging inside me. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at the wall as memories of happier times with Leo played in my mind like an old movie. The laughter, the intimacy, the dreams we shared, all of it now felt like a cruel joke. I could sense the weight of our crumbling marriage, and it was suffocating. Why did it have to end like this? I whispered to myself, tears streaming down my cheeks. The pain of his betrayal was immense, but there was also a deep sense of loss for the life I thought we had together. I picked up my phone, scrolling through the messages I had once read with a mix of disbelief and anger. Each word felt like a dagger, reminding me of Leo's deception. I could almost hear his voice in my head, promising me he would always be true. But now, Those promises felt like empty echoes. My thoughts drifted to Sloane. Initially, confronting her had felt empowering, but now it seemed like just another piece of the puzzle that was my life falling apart. She thought she could take him from me, I murmured, but the satisfaction of that thought faded quickly. It did not change the fact that I was still hurting. Sitting in silence, I began to reflect on my own choices. Had I been so blinded by love that I ignored the signs? Or had I let my fear of losing Leo keep me in a bubble, too afraid to see the truth? I realized that my quest for revenge was consuming me. It was like a fire that burned bright but threatened to destroy everything in its path. As I lay back on the bed, I took a deep breath. "No more," I finally said aloud. I would not let this pain define me. It was time to think about myself for once. I sat up and grabbed a notebook from my nightstand. It was filled with ideas and dreams I had pushed aside while supporting Leo and his ambitions. "What do I want?" I asked myself, pen poised over the page. I began to write down everything that came to mind. Painting, traveling, learning to play the guitar. Each word felt like a small step toward reclaiming my identity. The more I wrote, the lighter I felt. It was as if I was shedding the weight of my anger and despair, piece by piece. For the first time in a long while, I began to feel a flicker of hope. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Leo. "Can we talk? I need to explain." My heart raced. Part of me wanted to reply, to ask him how he could even think about explaining after everything that had happened. But another part of me felt a strange sense of calm. "No," I said firmly, typing my response. "I need time to think." I hit send and stared at the screen. It felt good to set that boundary, to put my needs first. Later that evening, I decided to go for a walk. The fresh air felt invigorating as I stepped outside, the cool breeze brushing against my skin. The neighborhood was quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos in my mind. I walked for a while, letting the rhythm of my footsteps ground me. As I turned a corner, I saw a small art studio. The lights were on, and I could hear laughter inside. I hesitated for a moment, but something pulled me toward the door. I pushed it open and stepped inside, greeted by the scent of paint and the sight of vibrant canvases. "Hey there! Come join us!" a cheerful voice called out. A group of people was gathered around a table, painting and chatting. I felt a spark of excitement. "Can I really?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, we're just having fun," the woman replied, smiling warmly. I took a seat at the table, picked up a brush, and began to paint. As the colors flowed onto the canvas, I felt my worries begin to fade. This was what I needed, a reminder of who I was before Leo, before the betrayal. I was an artist at heart, and no one could take that away from me. In that moment, I realized that healing would take time, but I was ready to embark on that journey. The path ahead was uncertain, but I felt a sense of empowerment blooming within me. I was ready to focus on my own life, my own dreams, and my own happiness. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself diving deeper into activities that once filled me with joy. It was as if I had been asleep for too long, and now I was waking up to a world full of possibilities. I started painting again, something I had loved in my youth. The vibrant colors on the canvas felt like a release, washing away the heaviness that had settled in my heart. One afternoon, as I stood in front of a blank canvas, my friend Mia visited. She had a way of lifting my spirits, a bright light that pierced through the darkness. "Ilara, you should come to the art class with me. It could be fun," she suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I hesitated for a moment. "Do you think I still have it in me, after everything?" "Absolutely. This is about you finding joy again. We can let the past go and create something beautiful." Her words resonated with me. I could feel the weight of my old life slowly lifting as I agreed. "Okay, let's do it." In that art class, I met other women who were also on their journeys of self-discovery. One of them, Sarah, had recently left a toxic relationship. "I thought I would never find myself again," she shared during one of our breaks. "But here I am, rediscovering who I am without him." I nodded, understanding her pain. "I feel the same. It's like I'm learning to breathe again." The bond we formed was powerful. We encouraged each other to embrace our independence and pursue our dreams without fear or hesitation. The laughter, the shared stories, and the support filled a void I didn't realize I had. As I painted, I confronted my feelings of anger and betrayal. Each stroke of the brush became a way to express what was in my heart. "This is not just paint, it's my story," I told Mia one day as I mixed colors. "I need to let go of the past to move forward." "That's it, Alara. Let it flow. You're stronger than you think," she encouraged, her voice soft yet firm. One day while I painted, I felt a sudden wave of clarity wash over me. I paused and looked at my creation. It didn't matter if it was perfect. What mattered was that it was mine. The act of creating became a metaphor for my life. I realized that true strength comes from within and not from the actions of others. That evening, I sat down with a cup of tea, reflecting on everything I had been through. The anger I had felt for Leo and Sloane was fading, replaced by a sense of peace. I whispered to myself, "I choose to let go. I choose to move forward." Mia walked in just then, sensing my newfound calmness. "What's going on? You look different." "I think I'm finally starting to heal," I admitted, a smile creeping onto my face. "I'm learning that I don't need them to define who I am." She beamed at me, and it felt like the sun breaking through clouds. "That's the spirit. You're reclaiming your life, Alara." With each passing day, I found more joy in the little things. I started exploring new hobbies, meeting new people, and even going on solo outings. I visited museums, enjoyed quiet walks in the park, and rediscovered my love for reading. One sunny Saturday, I found myself at a quaint little cafe, a book in hand, savoring the moment. I looked around at the bustling life around me and felt a wave of gratitude. "I'm really doing this," I thought. I was no longer a shadow of my former self. I was becoming whole again. In those moments, I realized that I was not just surviving, I was thriving. The journey of self-rediscovery was not just about forgetting the past, but about embracing who I was becoming. With every brushstroke, every laugh with friends, and every moment of reflection, I was carving out a new path for myself, one that was filled with hope and empowerment. And as I continued this journey, I knew that I was not just letting go of the past, I was stepping into a brighter future. As I stood at the edge of the park, the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It felt like a new beginning, a fresh start after everything that had happened. I took a deep breath, letting the cool morning air fill my lungs. This was my moment, my new dawn. After months of turmoil, I finally felt a sense of peace wash over me. "I have come so far," I whispered to myself, smiling softly. The pain and betrayal from Leo's actions seemed to fade with each passing day. I learned how to let go of the anger that once consumed me, and it felt liberating. I recalled the conversations I had with my new friends, people who lifted me up and encouraged me to embrace my independence. "You're stronger than you think, Alara," Mia had said one evening over coffee, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "You have the power to create your own happiness." I had doubted her words at first, but now I understood their truth. The journey through my pain had transformed me. I no longer needed to seek revenge on Leo or Sloane. Instead, I needed to focus on myself, on my own happiness. As I walked through the park, I noticed the small details around me, the flowers blooming, the laughter of children playing, and the warmth of the sun on my skin. I paused for a moment, closing my eyes and soaking it all in. Life is beautiful, I thought, and for the first time in a long while, I felt excited about what lay ahead. I decided to take a new path in my life. I wanted to explore my passions and find out who I truly was without the weight of betrayal holding me back. A few weeks ago, I signed up for a painting class. Art is a form of therapy, my instructor Clara had said as she handed me a brush. It allows you to express what you feel inside. Today was my first class. I could already feel the butterflies in my stomach. What if I'm terrible? I thought, but then I shook my head, dismissing the fear. I was ready to embrace this new chapter in my life. When I arrived at the studio, I was greeted by the smell of paint and the sound of laughter. "You made it!" Clara exclaimed, her smile wide. "Let's unleash some creativity today." As I began to paint, I lost myself in the colors and the strokes. I felt free, as if every brushstroke was a release of my past. I remembered the lessons I had learned, that self-acceptance was more powerful than revenge. "That's it, Alara. Let your emotions flow," Clara encouraged as I painted with fervor. After class, I sat outside with some classmates. "What inspired your painting?" one of them asked, tilting their head curiously. I smiled, looking at my work. "It's about finding light after darkness. It's about me reclaiming my happiness." "That's beautiful," another friend chimed in. "We all have our battles. It's amazing to see you coming out stronger." Their words filled me with warmth, and I realized I was not alone in my journey. As the days turned into weeks, I continued to grow. I explored new hobbies, made new friends, and even started a small blog to share my thoughts and experiences. Each post was a step toward embracing my identity. "You have a gift for writing," Mia said after reading one of my entries. "You should keep going." With every word I wrote, I felt lighter. I was not just a victim of betrayal. I was a survivor, a warrior reclaiming her life. The lessons I learned from my past were shaping my future. I no longer felt the need to dwell on the hurt from Leo or Sloane. One evening, as I reflected on my journey, I realized how far I had come. I looked in the mirror and smiled at the woman staring back at me. "You are enough, Alara," I said aloud. The power of self-acceptance filled my heart, and in that moment, I knew I was ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me. The chapter closed on a painful past, but it opened wide to a future filled with hope, strength, and endless possibilities. I was ready to forge my own path, to build relationships on my terms, and to live a life that was authentically mine. As I stepped forward into the new dawn, I felt stronger, wiser, and truly free. Share this story if you believe that healing and self-discovery can triumph over even the deepest betrayals. Comment below about a time when embracing your passions helped you find your way back to happiness. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring journeys like this one.